Hi, I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca, and this is the Brian Optik pad comparison. Now you see the gloves here, those will be in their separate videos, so make sure you check those out. I'll also do a comparison with this set and the GNetik to kind of tell you the differences between them. But this is a comparison between the Optik 1 and the very recent release Optik 2. So I'll have all those links in the description at the end. Please ignore the jersey pile at the bottom. I have not put it away yet. And in the meantime, I will go over some stuff here. So as you can see, these are two very, very different size pads. I got a 33, I believe, and a 33 plus one and a 36 plus one. So these aren't mine. I got these from a store just so I could do this video on and talk about kind of the differences between the gear and to see if I think that this set is kind of worth getting. So I guess we'll kind of start there. Again, I haven't worn these, so this isn't like a review. This is more just a comparison of things I noticed and some of the big changes. One of the big ones is this is now the Max Core, which I'll show the logo and stuff on a different angle. But since we're up here, we'll kind of take a look. So my pads are, as you can see, very straight. I like the straight design. These were the Fly Core. This pad works really well for me. It's one of my favorite pads in terms of performance and everything like that. And I always played really well in them. They are like, they're not soft, but they are soft. So like they do flex, but I keep them as straight as possible. Yeah, so comparison of these ones, you can kind of see the difference in the angle right there. The new one should have a bit softer of a boot, I believe, but I'm not totally positive on that. But you should be able to see the big difference in kind of the face there. And this one does flex like this. Again, this is the new Max Core, so it should be a bit thicker, stiffer thigh, and we'll go over that in a different view. So that's how that one flexes out of the box there. They still have, actually have 3 versions now, and that's kind of how mine did back then, and mine was a Fly. So they still have 3 versions. They have the Fly, the Flex, and the Max Core. So Max Core is the stiffest core pad. Fly is kind of like the old Fly, and Flex is obviously more like softer, more breaks. So it's a kind of more of a traditional, more curved pad for the hybrid goalie. So yeah, I think that's about it from this angle. Sizing should all be the same. Again, this is a 33, so I can't really talk about it there, but we'll move it to a different angle and go from there. All right, so from this angle, you can see the Max Core designation compared to the Fly. Custom pad, so it doesn't have the sizing on there. They come stock, I guess we'll start down here with their Brian Smart Strap. Mine have aftermarket GNetik ones, which I'm a huge fan of. Mine originally came with this type of Smart Strap, and now they're using the bungee cord. Personally, if I was going to get a set of Optik 2s, I would go back to the strap. The reason being, I have cut through one of these on my GNetiks in about 2 months, 3 months. And it happens to actually a bunch of my pads. You can see the wear on this one. My True Skates, like the side of it just eats away at like the ones that aren't thick. So GNetik's is really good because it's nice and thick. The CCM ones are pretty thick. Brian's is a little thinner shot cord. So I would go back to this design because I had no problems with that. This one does get stretched out a bit, but this one was about a year, and then a year and it still was good. I just decided to go to these to try them out. So I would go back to this Smart Strap toe system instead of the bungee cord. I just find it for me, it's a bit more durable. I like how Brian's does this little piece right here, so you can adjust the tightness on it or give some slack on your toe. But yeah, so we'll kind of move on from that really quick. We'll go the outside just because it's kind of the minimal things. Because the outside of the pad, in my opinion, is not a huge change. One thing I noticed right away is how much this boot is. So this material on this boot kind of, as you can see, comes out. I don't know if it's just this pad, but you can see on, like, mine is much more flush. My boot does feel much stiffer though. But it's stiffer kind of like back here, which is interesting. So I'm not really sure like what, because these are a softer flex boot, in the marketing material, but it doesn't really feel that soft, especially compared to the 2X and the new vapor pads and the CCM pads. I liked the Optics boot. It worked. I mean, you could go softer, but I never really had that desire to. Like, I had no issues wearing this pad at all, so it's kind of a nice thing there. That's kind of it. You see these new grill pieces instead of the mesh on the side. That's about it for the side. They're pretty similar just looking at them. The strapping changed, but we'll look at a different view of that. One thing that's interesting is on what I've seen most custom pads, all the bindings are the Primo, but on the stock pads, they're just normal Gen Pro. So I'm curious the decision there. A nice change is how they changed where the stitching was. So as you can see before, the stitching was kind of on the side like this. And I did see some issues with that, not through my pad specifically, but someone else's who had this design on their pad. It was a Heritage, I believe. This one should be a little bit better in regards of wear. That part there looks kind of interesting, but we'll see when that actually happens. Base of the pad is just the graphic, not going to go into it. You can get custom graphics, stuff like that. And that's not the big part of this video. So looking at the boot, I guess in the sliding surface, you still have OptiSlide, which is huge and really good because I think it's one of the best materials on the market for sliding. Brian's pads still slide really, really well and slide, I think, better than Bauer's on nice ice. But then once the ice gets worse, Bauer slide a bit better. But so changes here. All this feels pretty similar. I think they said they made the sliding edge stiffer foams, but right here feels all pretty similar to me. This part does stick out a bit more, so I'm not sure if that's just this individual pad or if it's kind of a design choice or like what the market, or sorry, not like just because mine are used or what's that about. This is a bit more rounded too, but again, I'm not sure if that's just like how they're built and they'll flatten out the more you wear them, or if it's just some differences in manufacturing. That's it. So that's not anything big. We'll kind of slide these next to each other again. And so this is actually a pretty big change I really like. One thing I want to say about these actually really quick, I really like when pads, these won't kind of do it, but they have padding on the ankle. It just gives a little bit of support for your ankle so it's not always dangling so much. CCM pads do that. I found CCM's implementation was kind of mediocre because the nylon would rub on the ice. They needed more coverage like this. So this piece is now a harder foam, and it definitely feels stiffer when I'm trying to flex it like this. It definitely feels stiffer than mine. Also much bigger, so you have a bigger surface area there, so you have more stability when you're moving. But the big part, and this is the part I really want to talk about. Okay, we'll turn these around for this. So the big part that I really want to talk about is the knee block. So the knee block is new on the Optik 2, and what they did is they have it laced in here. And the idea is so the block doesn't kind of come out this way. So when you're driving your knees down, it brings the pad down as fast as possible. As you can see how this one lifts up. I never had an issue with these like really getting in the way, but I do notice on pads, especially the older they get, you can see how this one lifts up pretty easy, where this one doesn't really go anywhere. So this laced in section here is awesome and a phenomenal upgrade by Brian's. I give him huge props for that. Again, you have harder, stiffer foams here, especially compared to mine, or else mine are just that beat up, which is a possibility, but it does feel a bit stiffer right there. If we open these up, you should see pretty similar. Besides that this one's laced in, you have, again, your foams and multi-layers. Stick that one back down. Kind of same thing. Slightly different design here, thicker flat edge there. I like the bevel, or the taper, just to give you a little bit more space there so your knees don't kind of pop together. But yeah, that's about it for that part. So when we go on to the back, you kind of see a lot of the big changes here for like strapping, and like you kind of lose this little pillow here. Didn't really do much. It's much more flat and flush there. But then you can see some changes they made to the knee block and everything like that. So we'll open these up as best as possible. Gone is the smart strap system. on the original Optik. I actually was a huge fan of this because it was like I didn't have to have anything on my knee. I could just wear it down because this was the knee. Where the Optik 2 strapping system is super easy, very GNetik-like, but that does require you to have this piece right here, which kind of bums me out a little bit just because I liked how this one was so much. I'm sure Brian's would do this again for this pad if you really ask them. I'm not sure what I would do if I ordered them, but we'll kind of get to that in a little bit. So open this up a bit. You can see you have your the grip material on the outside of the knee block, and you do have it on the inside here too, just so your knee doesn't slide off when it's kind of at the edge. And then you have your really simple strapping system with a pretty just different materials, X-static compared to this mesh, pretty standard. Nothing like spectacular here, just everything standard, everything works. Strapping super easy. You still have this excellent calf pillow, which was down here. You can see it looks, I'm not gonna say it's smaller because these are a smaller pad, but as you can see down here, one of the reasons I love that design is because it kind of pushes your calf down. Like it allows your calf to be higher with your kind of leg knot right on the ice and helps seal your shin and everything on the ice. I said it was kind of like a cheater on these pads, so I'm a huge fan. That's still there. I love that design. I put it on a custom pair of pads of mine recently to kind of mimic this as much as possible because I loved how the Optik played for that. So a huge fan. That's back. Very similar to the GNetik straps there. Everything's kind of nice. A big new feature on this pad is this little piece right here and right here. So hopefully this comes out on camera. So it's not coming on camera. Okay, so this piece right here is the new piece. So basically this is so you can do the kind of professor strap. So you can lace in that strap right here and it will hold your the knee tight into the pad. So it won't move around a lot. Vaughn did a very good implementation on this on theirs. Here's Brian's. I'm really curious to see this strap. I wish these pads had them on because that is a great idea and I like their implementation of it. If I get these pads, I'm definitely putting on there to try. I might be able to get rid of this strap then, if that's the case, because it does keep your knee in place so much there. That's kind of the inside of this pad versus this one. So hopefully... So again, I can't answer questions obviously on playability of these because these aren't my pads. I'm just borrowing them and because they're not my size. I'm yet undecided if I'm going to grab a pair of these, but it is what it is. So one of the things about the Max Core is I'm a huge fan of stiffness, especially in thigh rises because it helps pads, I think, hold their shape and last a little bit longer. Brian's wasn't the best for this, and I kind of commented on that before. So you can kind of see the shape of this pad and how it's coming in. So that's over like the 2 years I've had these, and it's getting worse and worse. And this pad is like that. You can bend the core. It's not a super soft core like there are worse pads, but it is softer than I would prefer. And then when I bend this pad downwards, you can see it kind of goes on an angle. So that's kind of disappointing. And when you put it like here, I can notice it. So yeah, that's kind of disappointing. Brian's told me that the Max Core kind of like directly fixes this or works on this. So the test for that is, but it is stiffer. So that's a big bonus right there. I'm happy they made that change. Personally, I wish it was stiffer. And if there's an option, so I heard about this option called the Pro Thigh Stiffness for the GNetik pads. And I asked them about optics and they said with the Max Core, it's not really needed. If I go this route, I'm still gonna ask about that just because I want a bit stiffer as well. One of the things that I actually always talk about is seal on the ice for pads. And my Brians aren't the best at it, especially when you do post lean. They come up, and because this is softer too, I've noticed that, like you can see the pucks. So these are pucks that got under my thigh rise, either jammed, or if I'm doing a post lean, it comes up a little bit and it kind of gets stuck under there. So this is a thing. Here's my evidence of it right here, all in black. Now we put this pad onto the ground and the seal is pretty great. Everything looks good there, but when you lean off, it will come up a bit. Again, that's kind of the nature of the beast, especially when you don't have a full 90-degree break, because it will come off, but it is really good when it's right there. My one thing is you can kind of see it like this. You can see how like the calf area and the knee area is a bit like almost wider than the thigh. I wish this was a bit wider too to cover that. It's fine in this situation, but I'm a bit worried with kind of wear and tear. Like 2 years and these are like, they still look like they cover, but they get under pretty good. Like I can stick my fingers under that, and pucks, as you can see from evidence, could go under that. This one it can't. I hope it stays like that, but that's why I would personally try to get a bit stiffer thigh rise on there. It works for my game. If you want more of a mobile or like a flexible pad, then possibly not, but that's something I really look for. So they definitely made improvements, and I'm definitely interested in these. Should you buy an Optik 2 if you have Optik 1s? It really depends what you're looking for. For me, I'm kind of leaning that way just because I want that stiffer core, and my pads are kind of getting a little bit beat because of just use and everything. So I kind of want that stiffer core in there. And they did definitely do solid upgrades, especially this knee block. I'm a huge fan of it. Really like what they did there. So I have to give Brian's huge props for that. I don't think these definitely aren't a game changer like the Optik 1 was. It's a solid improvement on an already very good pad. So I guess that is kind of what they were going for, but I think that's about it. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this kind of comparison video, almost like initial review thing, was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, let me know below. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube, hit the bell icon so you get notified when I make new videos. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I do like smaller content stuff on there that doesn't really make it to YouTube. And if you ever do buy a piece of equipment because of one of my videos, please reach out to the manufacturer, let them know. Gets me on their radar so I can do gear reviews like this and get demos and stuff like that so I can talk about gear. So yeah, thank you check out the other videos for Optik 2, GNetik comparison, and the rest of the set for this. Thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.